We're now going to hear from Mike and Georgie, who are going to present for 20 minutes or so the sort of journey of Shoal so far. So please do kind of get ready with any questions that you may have, and we'll have kind of 10 minutes at the end where hopefully there'll be an opportunity to for them to answer some. So yeah, over to you guys.
So, hi everyone. As you heard, I'm Mike Portser, and I'm in the core team of Shoal. And I got the opportunity to say a very warm welcome to everybody to Shoal's first ever all partner annual meeting. Uh, we've been looking forward to this for quite a long time, and it's wonderful to see that you could all make it, and it's great to see all of you. It's a shame, as Mike says, that we can't all meet up in a really nice place and not only learn from each other and be able to talk to each other and even socialize in the evenings. Uh, but I think this is a good replacement, and maybe in the future we'll be able to get that opportunity. So the theme of this meeting is working together, and my summary is therefore focused on that. And you can find a lot more details about Shoal on our new updated website, and some more highlights in the annual review, which has just been released, and I hope you've managed to see a copy of that. There's so much to tell, and so much to talk about, and so much to discuss and share, and so many people to thank, and so many organisations to acknowledge, but we do only have 20 minutes in this speech. And as this is our first partner meeting, I'll take this opportunity to describe who we are and what makes us tick, and then try and recognize at least some of you that have helped Shoal in our first years. But we will have a chance later in the meeting to show some of the work of the partners and discuss how the partnership and impact can grow. So first, let's take a little step back and a little bit of history and background to Shoal. Shoal was launched in 2019 on the back of a surge of concern that freshwater species and their habitats and the communities of people that live and connected with these species and habitats that are suffering from severe neglect. The nature paper that Arisha just presented earlier perfectly represents our raison d'etre, or our motivation, or our call to action, and also why we really cannot fail. At the meeting in 2018, hosted by Fishmongers Company at Fishmongers Hall, a place where so many excellent initiatives have been born, and with the support and facilitation by Synchronicity Earth, a small but very diverse group of stakeholders and experts met to dream up a plan to help solve this crisis. This group included many of the organisations already leading freshwater conservation: CI, ICN, WWF, ZSL, Rewild, but also representatives of aquaria and angling hobbies, fisheries, and other experts. And almost immediately after the meeting, Synchronicity Earth took the brave step to host the initiative and to provide financial support as part of their freshwater programme. This was a vital, important leg up for Shoal and was closely followed by Rewild, who agreed to host Shoal in the US. Plus, Fish and Michael Cooperman agreed to support a position in the US, hosted by Rewild, and Shoal was ready for takeoff. The foundations of the mission, objectives, and strategy were all sealed in that 18 meeting in Fishmongers Hall, and some great advice was provided that has taken Shoal forward. Probably the most important piece of advice was for us that we need to be different. And in that meeting, Shoal was deliberately created to be different. It needed to be different. There is a crisis to deal with, and we have years of neglect to catch up on. And so it was designed to be as swift and direct as possible, to be lean and focused. Instead of creating a large, new, cumbersome single organization that would take decades to engineer, fund, and mobilize, the solution was decided for Shoal was to build on the power of those with the experience, the skills, the reach, and the capacity, what we now refer to as strategic partners, and harness that power to support local organizations where the neglect was really being felt. Shoal needs to be an organisation that stubbornly insists resources will be weighted and assigned where the impact is most needed. That way, local organisations have the capacity and support to make the difference, often at a lot less cost than any other solutions that have been applied or being designed now. The larger this shoal of partners we can create, the stronger it will become. And by choosing freshwater fish as our key vehicle for shoal to reach aquatic biodiversity habitats and communities most in need, our first partners naturally were the IUCN's Freshwater Fish Specialist Group, the Freshwater Committee, and what was then the Freshwater Biodiversity Unit. We wanted to make a significant difference to the assess, plan, and act, with strategy completely focusing on the act side. The red list and the guidance of the experts in these groups and committees are the absolute foundations of Shoal. And so the key strategy for Shoal to achieve its goal and end freshwater biodiversity loss was to create a global partnership, a global Shoal, if you like, with a small core team to coordinate and maintain the momentum of the initiative. Some of the partners will be close to the core of the initiative and central to the mission, such as our two hosts and the IUCN bodies just listed, and some will only have a loose connection but are still vital and critical to the mission. And after 5 years of Shoal, we have learned more and more about what it takes to be a partnership. And over the next year, we'll be formalizing this concept. And what we know for sure is that without a large set of empowered partners across the globe working together and supporting each other, we will not succeed in our mission to end the loss of freshwater biodiversity. So given our big ambitions and our limited team, as I said, we followed the advice from the Fishmongers meeting to mobilize what we now call the strategic partners. Instead of building a large organization from scratch, the plan is to involve partners who already have or could develop the interest and ability to help the wider variety of capacity needs. Shoal's role is then to harness that incredible capacity and help steer it in the right direction, and where possible, help to boost and catalyze that capacity further. A great example of this is our partnerships with zoos and aquaria. So zoos and aquaria have made significant contributions to freshwater species conservation. Without zoos like Chester Zoo, for example, the tequila splitfin would not have been saved from extinction or ever released back into the wild. There are numerous examples, but zoo and aquaria staff we have talked to have all acknowledged that there is a lot more room to expand that work and to use their facilities for more ex situ species conservation, more opportunities to train and support others, and wonderful opportunities to inspire and engage more people. And this year we took the first steps to help bring those zoos and aquaria into an alliance to support them to make a difference. Of course, it would still be the zoos and aquaria that do the work and make the difference, but by working together in a targeted way, perhaps we can elevate the impact to an absolutely new level. And this could be the same for researchers and universities to help describe more species and explore new areas and understand the conservation needs of data deficient species. How about an alliance of explorers and scientists and universities? Hobbyists such as aquarists and anglers have been central to Shoal's approach from the beginning. They are keen to help, and in many of the projects and partners that have been launched in the last 5 years of Shoal have been inspired and supported by these hobbyist communities. Representatives of the hobby, such as OATA here in the UK and OFI globally, and key visionary leaders in the hobby, such as Sandy Moore of Seagrass Farms, are helping Shoal develop that part of the initiative. And really, we're probably really only at the beginning of that journey together. But at the very heart of what Shoal is aiming to do are the local action partners. We make absolutely no qualms about making it very clear that everything we do ultimately has to be about strengthening action at the most local level with the most local of organizations. This is absolutely fundamental to Shoal. Neglecting local partners and failing on sustainability of action has contributed to the status of so many freshwater habitats that they face now. Conservation can be only successful at the habitat level, and habitat will only ever be conserved when it has local support and local engagement. However, our biggest challenge probably for Shoal is finding those local partners and helping to build their capacity. This challenge is a central challenge for Shoal and all our strategic partners. Very recently, we connected to a local organization in the US called Conservation Fisheries. This is an organization that has taken action for dozens of threatened fishes in the rivers of the southeast of the US, a truly global hotspot for fish diversity. And if we were able to create that level of capacity and passion and success that conservation fisheries have achieved, if we could create that all across the globe, there would be absolutely no further freshwater crisis. But let me be clear, Shoal has had absolutely no role in that success of conservation fisheries. But conservation fisheries has chosen to be a Shoal partner as they're making a huge difference for a large number of critical fishes and their habitats. And while they do that, they're also providing a great example to other local organizations and to Shoal about how we can do it and make it happen all across the world. Another fabulous example are the local organizations and universities in Mexico focused on the conservation of the many endemic and highly threatened godeids. Communities there have taken on fish conservation with a passion because they're both proud of their unique fishes, but also to conserve vital sources of water that everyone depends on. In Sulawesi in Indonesia, it's a hotspot for freshwater biodiversity with some of the most threatened habitats in the world. They're growing. There is a growing number of local organisations full of enthusiasm and passion and for conservation, but perhaps with less experience and few resources. And then rather than compete for resources or attempt conservation action without the skills, they're teaming up to support each other and work together to make a difference. And organisations like Progress, led by two incredible women, are showing the way how to really build a local organisation, while Celebika is providing a space for individual teams to make a difference. And in India, Zoo Outreach and the Kerala University for Fisheries and Ocean Studies are taking community engagement to new levels to conserve the incredible diversity of the rivers and subterranean springs in the Western Ghats. And in Tanzania, a new organisation, Sustain Lake Tanganyika, with support from the Segre Foundation and TNC, is pioneering the creation of offshore community-led protected areas in Lake Tanganyika to boost local fisheries and maintain one of the world's most diverse communities of fish species. And this year, we're really excited to be supporting partners in Papua New Guinea, together with Synchronicity Earth's Miriam Sapuma, and in Papua and Indonesia with Dr. Henny Ohi. And plus, we're also starting a new killifish program with a project in Tanzania with David Alila with new support from the Rufford Foundation. And over the past 2 years, Shoal has focused on supporting existing programs and raising funds for small grants, together with including IUCN CEPF, IUCN SSC ASAP, IUCN SOS, the Segre Foundation, Fonseca Fund, Rewild, Rufford Foundation, and Full Circle. This has proved to be a really effective way for Shoal to support local partners, again making a massive difference with the smallest amounts of investment. And freshwater conservation at the local level is really proving to be one of the most efficient methods of conservation and ending species extinctions. Well, all this new levels of action require passion and public engagement. We in Shoal see that passion as the current that drives us all along. And without that current moving us all along, we cannot move forward. So the stronger the engagement, the more Shoal can progress. Our three global overarching objectives are to act as directly and swiftly as possible, to strengthen and create capacity for action, and thirdly, in recognition that the neglect is in part largely due to the difficulty to inspire and engage people about fresh water, we have a program called Inspire. And through that program, we set up a group called the Freshwater Inspire Network. We've published reports and projects such as the Lost Fishes Program and the Annual Species Report. And these are just a few of the ways we can help to inspire and escalate engagement. So with that in mind, what I'll do is I'll pass you to Georgie for her to take a short opportunity to inspire all of us.
Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate it. And thank you for all of you for coming today. It's a real pleasure to be able to talk to you. For those of you who haven't met me before, I'm Georgie and I'm the Programme Officer for Shoal. I've been working for Shoal for about a year now. And with a background in marine biology and being an all-round fish fanatic, Shoal was a natural organisation that I wanted to align myself with. But one of the main things that has really inspired me about Shoal is its drive to engage people beyond working within conservation directly, as it's such a key thing to do, but sometimes challenging, especially with the fact that freshwater is facing a bit of a PR crisis. And I start with this image of deforestation because I think we've all felt the frustration of making habitat loss and species extinction in freshwater environments tangible to people. Freshwater is not always easily observed, but with things like deforestation, it's tangible. People can see it. And oh, one moment. But the difference is that with freshwater, often you can look at an environment and it be relatively pristine in appearance if you engage with it. But beyond the surface and below the surface, those habitats can be facing local extinctions, habitat degradation, pollution, and it's really difficult to show the scale of issue with freshwater. So one of my favorite things to do, both as a professional and as a human being, is to get under the water and to take photos of fish. And I found myself in a situation where I really appreciated the importance of engaging people and people understanding the importance of freshwater when I was working at the BBC Natural History unit a few years ago. I found myself in different meetings with producers, desperately trying to get them to put freshwater fish in their programs. Unfortunately, it wasn't very successful. And the main reason for that was that audience perception surveys were showing that people wanted to see fish, but when they did, they wanted to see sharks, and people wanted to see mammals, they wanted to see dolphins, they wanted to see sea turtles when they saw aquatic environments. And freshwater fish were very low down on the list of what's desired. But it's a catch-22 because people don't generally see them in mainstream media. So how do they know that they want them? And I think that as a side mission, something that we can all do is try to show people that they do want fish. Because if they see fish, they see the amazing behaviors that they do, whether that's interesting parental care or courtship behavior. I really believe that people want to see fish more than they know that they want to see fish. Um, so I've included a brief video here from a trip to the Western Ghats recently, and I think for me, it felt quite representative of the issue that often we face with the PR of freshwater environments. Sometimes they can be silty, they can have a high sediment load, they can be murky, but actually, even those sort of humble pebbly streams with some macroalgae can be a real hub of biodiversity. And many of us are really lucky enough to be interacting with those habitats. And without adding too much to your budget, without adding too much to your time in the field, you can take imagery that really challenges perspectives. So I really encourage you, where possible, to do that. You don't have to have stupidly expensive gear. You just have to have the passion and the insight to do it. I know we at Shoal are really grateful for all the photos that we receive, and many of you on the call have submitted photos to us to use, so thank you for that. Um, and then again, as part of this trip, I had this full circle moment where, having gawked at the Denizens barb or the red line torpedo barb, a very popular aquarium fish, particularly in the UK, I used to look at them through the garden centre glass at the age of sort of 6 or 7, and I was thinking, if I ever get the chance to keep this fish, I've made it in life. And much later on than being able to photograph them in the wild was very moving. But I think there's a real disconnect with many of the hobbyists that are really inspired by these fish in their tanks, and then being able to see them in the wild and capture that imagery can really bridge the gap between caring about what's happening for those species in the wild, not just how well they're doing in their tanks. There's already a lot of empathy there for these species, but we have the ability to really bridge that gap. And finally, I have some photos again taken on the same trip that we were very lucky to be guided by various staff members from Zoo Outreach organisation. You saw Sanjay talking about the river stretches in Kerala and the success sharing story. And these photos were taken in a very similar way to a lot of the technology and techniques that taxonomists use for taking good photos to show morphology of fish species. So it's something that I know various members of our partners do, but they might not realize how powerful that technique is also for inspiring people about the wonderful diversity and colours that we have of freshwater fish. So I can leave you with anything, it's that the interactions that you have are absolutely vital for freshwater fish conservation, but you also may be more of a steward with your communication and with your photos than you realise. So I hope that moving forward, if you want to use those photos and those videos, Shoal is always happy to platform you, of course, but perhaps it's just nice to realize that that's a key power that you hold, no matter what you're doing and with what equipment you have in hand. And back over to Mike.
Thanks, Georgie. I think if we had a few days meeting somewhere really nice, that we could definitely have a full day of just looking at nice pictures and videos of fish. Uh, yeah, okay. So now on to 1,000 fishes, which you've heard a little bit already from in earlier. In phase one of Shoal, based on the strategic guidance from our partners and experts, Shoal has began to explore places that needed some immediate help and where the local partners and the opportunities were ready for some support. But in the meantime, we undertook a much more thorough analysis of the status of freshwater fishes across the globe so that we could identify a strategy for tackling the most important places, the species and habitats, and understanding those countries that needed the support. And from this analysis, we developed a flagship program, 1,000 Fishes, and with the goal to transform the level of global action from its present state to a much more appropriate level of action. Our new goal was to be able to record ongoing action for at least 1,000 of the world's most threatened fishes by 2035. The blueprint, our framework strategy to achieve this goal, identifies 7 strategies for Shoal to reach that goal as fast as possible. And of course, reaching that goal would still not be the full solution for freshwater species, but our aim is to help lift it to lift the global freshwater conservation effort to a place or a platform where efforts can really begin to make a difference in the future. And we need to move fast just to make up for the time lost and to catch up a little bit with the efforts for terrestrial and marine species. Under our 1,000 Fishes initiative, there are close to 2,500 priority species, representing the most threatened fishes in the world, and roughly the same amount of species are as data deficient. Also, Richard said that this morning. To understand our impact, we need to have a community, a network able to provide information on the conservation action underway for each of these species. We are now setting up a database and hiring a new team member to manage that database. The database will be open for all, and we'll be working closely with the IUCN Red List teams and specialist groups. In the future, we will release impact reports, together with our now landmark regular new species reports. The success of this work will, however, depend on the size of the global network that can help and provide the data. One of the 7 strategies of the 1,000 species blueprint is to achieve our mission by complementing existing initiatives. Shoal has a clear approach and a clear gap to fill, but ultimately we won't be successful unless A, we stick to our mission with a passion, and B, recognize the importance of other initiatives that are tackling gaps that Shoal will not. There are too many to mention them all today, but the key ones include World Fish Migration Day, a world celebration of fishes and rivers, the Freshwater Challenge, probably the largest freshwater restoration initiative ever, key biodiversity areas, Freshwater Live, which is tackling invasive species, one of the biggest threats to our threatened species, and EDGE, the ZSL-led initiative to conserve the most unique but threatened life forms. So it's often the standard thing to say thanks at the end of a presentation, but I want to take this opportunity to say thanks, because in our case, it seems so appropriate, as we're so indebted to so many people for the success and the speed that Shoal has been able to get up and running now. I wanted to take this opportunity to recognise and say thanks to all those working on the red listing and all the contributors to things like the fish base, to all the taxonomists and all the researchers that have been adding to our knowledge and building up our knowledge base over decades, and to all the authors of the Nature paper. These pieces of work are absolutely fundamental, and really Shoal is able to start our work because we're building on the shoulders of all those people that have done all those work and will continue to do that work. Again, a thanks to all our advisors and our strategic and local partners, and indeed to all our future strategic and local partners. And to all the donors and the partners that have helped support Shoal as we started and helped set up Shoal and make us operational. And finally, of course, that means saying thanks to our two hosts, Synchronicity Earth and Rewild, and the governing council they form. Absolutely have been absolutely fundamental to the success of Shoal. So I'll leave you with this. We're asked quite a lot if Shoal is an acronym now because we use capitals when we spell out Shoal. It isn't an acronym, but it does mean a lot more than just a label. Shoal is a fundamental strategy for swift and deep change. Shoal was created by you all to make a difference and filling a gaping hole in conservation. We're beginning to show what a difference the creation of Shoal can make, but to reach our full potential, we'll need to grow and strengthen the Shoal. And we can't wait to work with all of you much more on that big, huge challenge. Many thanks.
Absolutely. Thanks, Georgie. Thanks, Mike. It's really interesting to hear about all the different partnerships in this big Shoal sort of, well, in the Shoal partnership. A few people have used the word family over the last couple of days, which sort of caught us by surprise, but we might start using that word family. Um, we got a few minutes now before the intermission, maybe sort of 10 minutes or so for some questions and answers. So if anybody has any questions, please do put your hand up or drop them in the chat. But before that, I'm quite keen to ask Mike. We get a lot of emails from conservation organizations around the world who are not currently partners, but are keen to become partners of Shoal. What sorts of things are we looking for when we consider which organizations to partner with?
Yeah, well, of course, we do a good due diligence on anybody that we refer to as partners or call partners or formally acknowledge or sign agreements with partners. But ultimately, the aim of Shoal is to be as inclusive as we can. So anybody or any organization or any community or company that really wants to help contribute to the efforts to help us achieve our objectives and our mission can become Shoal partners. And the most simplest way of doing that is to contact any one of the core team, and we will, we will get back to you and build up an understanding of what you're doing. But like I said earlier in the talk, that we over this next year we will be formalising that partnership a little bit more, just to make it clear to people organisations, which ones are partners and which one we consider partners, so we're not creating any doubt in that area or making any errors. But really, the simple message is that Shoal is about being inclusive, and we need as many partners as possible. So if there are organisations or people that want to be partners, the simplest way is to get in touch with anyone in the core team. And just another thing that we internally we categorize partners, and it's all to do with making sure that we're not sort of accrediting any other partners' conservation actions to shoals, and so we have different categories depending on how much investment and time that the Shoal core team or even the key core partners of Shoal are working with that partner. So there's going to be many partners that are really doing amazing, incredible conservation work for freshwater species and making contributions to the 1,000 species that not necessarily want to be acknowledged as being a partner with Shoal, but internally we're thinking them as partners because they are making a contribution to that 1,000 fishes. But we would never attribute their work or externally call them partners. So we have different categories according to the amount of attribution that we can make to the work that partner's doing.
Brilliant, thank you. And Mohammed, do you have your hand raised?
Yeah. Thank you, Mike, for the opportunity. So I am Muhammad Ikram. I'm from Sulawesi, and now I'm called a local-based and newly established NGO called Tapak Diversitas Hayati Nusantara, or Tarsius. Maybe some of you may have heard about that. Most of you don't. So, yeah, we actually, I wanted to ask the question that Mike just asked just now, so I got already the answer, because we basically not an official partner. We are still not there in the website, so we are still not. But we are working with Shoal already. But yeah, as part of me and also part of the University Hasanuddin, we are currently undergoing also conservation effort to map fish biodiversity in Malili Lakes complex. And another question that I would like to ask is actually regarding the species, the 1,000 species list that Shoal actually promoted. And I have checked through the list, and wow, I would say in the case of Sulawesi, the number is underestimated, probably, most probably. It's just I don't know, the backbone of data, maybe probably from the IUCN Red List, but from what I have experienced going to the field since 2022, I've been covering quite extent ground in Sulawesi, except now northern Sulawesi. But the rest, I visited several drainage, which I think many ecosystems are very unique. Many water bodies are unique, not only those ancient lakes, for instance, Malili Lakes or Lake Poso or Lake Lindu, but other species actually, or other localities which are very isolated, actually need need the exploration to know what are there, what species are in there. And I think since they are not getting so much attention like the ancient lakes, and they are also very, how to say, like prone to degradation due to, yeah, many factors happening in Sulawesi, including deforestation and mining. And this is just my idea. I would like to ask to Shoal whether Shoal will allow such exploration to such areas or unexplored areas to find out what species are in there. So yeah, that is basically my question. Like, how likely Shoal will support such activity so that we can cover more isolated or unexplored water bodies, like I don't know, small lakes in the high in the mountain, which I kind of map all those water bodies, and then I found out there are actually quite many of those lakes or small water bodies that need to be explored actually. Yeah.
Yeah, many thanks, Vikram. It's good to see you as well, and great to hear about Sulawesi. And it was a good opportunity to talk about Tarsius and the great work that you're doing from Hasanuddin University. And so it's a really good question. And if we had a really long meeting, this is one of the things that we'd love to talk about. So the 1,000 Fishes initiative is based on all the data is based on the Red List. And although the Red List is an incredible amount of work and an incredible piece of information, there are obviously limitations in terms of the Red List, and I'm sure everybody recognises that. And sometimes it's out of date, sometimes it's not comprehensive, sometimes there's issues with the taxonomy. But we had to base our initial analysis on the Red List, and it's the only catalogue of really the only catalogue of threatened species across the world. But it doesn't mean that we're completely tied to that Red List. And as you also know, there's many species maybe not described, many species that are data deficient, which we don't know whether they're threatened or not threatened. and we've got plenty of work to do. But in the case of Sulawesi, which is a very good one to bring up, actually, what we're planning to do in the next year is to hold a meeting on freshwater conservation for the whole of Sulawesi, not just for the ancient lakes. Obviously, the ancient lakes are going to be a high priority, and because of the issues there, but we really like to broaden that out to the whole of Sulawesi because clearly this is an incredible hotspot for freshwater conservation as well as many other things. And that meeting will be led and organised by all the local organisations such as Tarsius in Sulawesi. But we're now just trying to secure the funding for that, and hopefully we're going to have that early next year. So the answer is that the idea that Shoal will allows or doesn't allow it is, that's not something that comes into our sort of vocabulary. But the idea is basically we will try and support freshwater conservation, freshwater species conservation everywhere we can. But sometimes we have to prioritize, and the 1,000 fishes is somewhere that we're sort of focusing our attention and priorities. But we're going to be within our capacity. We will do our best to do everything everywhere. And if there's partners doing work across Sulawesi, then that's great. And we'd love to tell that story as much as any other story.